Welcome to Peralta Matters. I am your host, Jay Calhoun. Today's show will be discussing the unions that represent the employees of the Peralta Colleges, including the Peralta Federation of Teachers and SEIU 1021. We also extended invitations to representatives from Local 39. Unfortunately, they were unable to attend. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy what matters to Peralta.
First floor.
Marketing, sound design, my business. Berkeley City College has transformed my life.
Fifth floor.
My next stop, flying to UC Berkeley.
Berkeley City College transformed my life.
Second floor.
Berkeley City College got me out in the community.
I attended the PACE program, the Program for Adult College Education.
I'm Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Join me in watching Peralta TV.
Welcome back to Peralta Matters. I'm your host, Jay Calhoun. We are now joined by PFT member and former PIO, Matthew Goldstein. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Nice to be here, Jay.
Let's discuss, first of all, what the PFT is and what it means to our four colleges.
Sure. So the PFT is the Peralta Federation of Teachers, which is the teachers union that represents the 1,000 faculty members at the four colleges in the Peralta district. So faculty includes here instructors, librarians, nurses, and counselors. And as I say, we're about 1,000 folks. 300 or so are full-time contract faculty members, 700 are part-timers.
We talked a little bit off camera, but let's give our viewers and some of the other Peralta employees an understanding of the breadth and how the PFT operates with the local and the national and so forth.
Sure. So the Peralta Federation of Teachers is the local, and we're affiliated with the American Federation of Teachers. So you'll often hear me say, Matthew Goldstein, president of PFT, AFT Local 1603.
Gotcha.
And what I'm acknowledging there is that we're affiliated with a national union, and that's the American Federation of Teachers, whose headquarters are in Washington, D.C. We're also affiliated with a state level organization. That's the California Federation of Teachers, and believe me, it's difficult for us to sort out and for our members to sort out, but essentially PFT fits into the state level organization, and the state level organization fits into the national organization.
Right. Are there any particular things, champions, causes, initiatives that the Peralta Teachers Federation or the Peralta Federation of Teachers takes different than the national or different even than the state?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, Jay. In fact, I was at a conference this summer at UCLA sponsored by the CFT, the California Federation of Teachers, that was training locals in how to do politics more effectively. And it came up that the American Federation of Teachers tends to be a pretty solidly centrist organization, and the CFT has a long history of progressivism. And there has been, over the course of history, some tension on specific political issues between the national and the state, although they get ironed out. The local here, PFT 1603, the Peralta Federation of Teachers, is probably closer to the California Federation of Teachers in terms of its political profile. And again, I don't see that there's any tension there. There's productive discussion among all these affiliates. But essentially, as you might expect from geography and local culture, a Bay Area union is going to be more progressive perhaps than unions in other parts of the country.
Yeah. We know, but I'd like to give our viewers a little brief understanding of your path to not only the Peralta Colleges.
Yeah, let's talk more about me.
Yeah,
Jay.
let's talk about
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I think it's more about you here. Not only to the Peralta Colleges, but also to your position now as president of the PFT. Let's talk a little bit about your first job at Laney.
Thanks. Yeah, so I was hired in 2001 to be the public information officer at Laney College. And I worked then for the district marketing and PR office, but I was stationed at Laney, more or less. I believe they've changed the organization since then. But during that time, I also worked as a part-time English instructor at Laney. And I really rediscovered teaching working at Laney and enjoyed the students there a great deal. And I found it to be very different from my experience teaching in universities as a graduate student and as a dissertating, soon-to-be PhD. I applied for a job after a year or so for a full-time position at the Laney College English Department and wound up getting it. And I feel very fortunate. It's been a great run. I taught for roughly 8-9 years full-time in the Laney English Department and became active in the union during that time. Right. Started as a shop steward, essentially, that is a rep on campus at Laney, and then kind of graduated to communications director under the last PFT president, Debbie Weintraub. And from that position, I served as her understudy and worked with some of the longtime veterans in the PFT and kind of transitioned into the presidency just in July. So this job is still pretty fresh.
Well, congratulations.
Hey, thanks.
Excellent. Yeah. What would you say is, I guess, a good connection or a good correlation for you being considered, you started as a district employee, moved in, continued your teaching career, and now you're on another level of the teaching ladder. What would you say are the correlations or the connections between the three positions you've held? Or
that's a really interesting question. Actually, as president of the union, I'm seeing the institution from a different perspective. I feel like I've had the good luck to see things from a number of different perspectives. I started as a classified employee, and I've worked as a part-time faculty member, and now a full-time faculty member, and now a full-time union leader. And you really get to see the way things work from different angles. And I have to say that experience seeing things from different angles has served me well in each of those positions. So I'm kind of privileged to have had this experience seeing things perhaps differently from someone who would have started in one job and stayed there throughout his or her career.
Do you feel like you've you definitely, your opinions have changed, or you kind of have gradually grown into different understandings?
No, absolutely. My opinions have evolved, and I pretty much got this place figured out now.
10, 13 years later, yeah. You
No, it's sort of a wonderfully complicated organization, as I'm sure you can attest to as well. And it's always interesting. And even though, as I say, I've seen it from a number of angles, I can't say that I've got things figured out just yet. But I'm hopeful, maybe after 30, 40 years,
but you can
have it all sorted out for you.
Put your thumb on it, right?
You can bring me back on, and I'll let you know what the secret is.
Great. We see the PFT at the board meetings a lot. One, explain the role in which a union of teachers should take in the board decisions, and two, why is it so important?
Right. Well, part of our responsibility is to let our members know. When I say our, I mean the PFT brass. We have to let the members know that we're watching out for their interests in all contexts. My chief responsibility as the president is really to defend the contract, that is the collective bargaining agreement that binds us with the district and all of our working conditions and so forth. So it's important for the president and others in the PFT to take a public role and assure our members that we're minding our affairs. Right. Also, we are a pretty politically active organization, and the board meetings provide a nice opportunity to reach out to the community, let the trustees know what we're up to, but also let the general community know via television and the internet and so forth. So, for example, when we sponsor a teach-in, I can report that to the board, invite them to come, but also invite the general public. Recently, we backed a Senate bill, SB 810, which is Leno's bill arguing for universal single-payer health care. So the board meeting provided a nice stage for me to make that announcement. And again, to let our members know that we're doing this political work, but also to let the community know and the trustees as well.
Are there any other initiatives or actions in which the PFT is involved in now, especially currently in our new heightened election series and races around?
Yeah, we're actually quite active on a number of fronts. We did endorse the Occupy Oakland and Occupy Berkeley actions in the past couple of weeks. We, of course, are interested in a number of legislative issues that are happening at the state level.
Right.
As you know, Jay, the district's in a crisis, but it's not alone in that regard, and a lot of what's driving that crisis is happening at a higher level in Sacramento and even in Washington, D.C. So PFT definitely has an interest in keeping its hands in business beyond the district as well.
Real quickly, how do you guys tackle these financial difficulties and issues of classes and programs being cut?
Yeah, it's a really painful subject for us. As I said before, we have about 1,000 members, 70% of them, 1,000 people who belong to our unit, fewer members than that, but we have about 1,000 people we represent, and maybe 70% of those folks are part-time instructors and counselors and nurses and librarians. And it's really the part-time faculty that's bearing the brunt of the cuts among the faculty. The students, of course, are the ones taking the biggest hit.
Right.
But it's our part-time faculty that carries a lot of the weight around here, and also is taking the biggest hit during these budget cuts. So it's been particularly painful. We have had to give some stuff back in the course of the last couple of years. We understand the economic reality of the situation we're in, but we're working hard to try to improve things. And as I've said in other contexts, our faculty work really hard to serve students and deserve a fair deal.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Matt, for coming on the show. It's
Hey,
been
thanks
great.
for having me, Jay.
It's great. Great job.
Thanks.
We just spoke with Matthew Goldstein, president of the PFT president of the PFT for Helena College. We'll be back in a few moments with Peralta Matters.
My first instructor, he wasn't that articulate, but he used to say, you gots to read the book.
The EMT program, it's very intense. If you're not prepared to study, then don't even bother to show up. There's a lot of people in the class who want to be firefighters, myself included.
I want to be a nurse.
Some of them are going to go on to be doctors, like this guy. He's going to be a neurosurgeon.
I want to go to medical school, so this is like, you can get some great experience, some great knowledge, and you're going to learn every single part of it.
Bleeding control, CPR, mobilization of the spinal cord. The true skill is the assessment. When they can come in and recognize a cardiac event, recognize a stroke.
You see somebody just sweating and can't breathe very well, and by asking a couple questions, you're able to figure it out, so it makes you feel really good.
I can't teach them everything in here, but if I can just get them started with thinking about assessments, that's the true skill.
Being an EMT just really opens a lot of doors.
And after that, everything falls in place.
Turn the guitars down. It's time to sculpt the sound. The volume's too high. He is not horsing around. Turn the guitars down. It is the classic standoff. We like to play at 11. You like to turn us off. Turn the guitars down.
If you really want to get an idea of what the whole universe is about, this is the class to take.
Part of my general education, but also I'm just interested in kind of what's happening out there. We learned about like thermonuclear fusions.
He brought in some sun filters and we got to look at the sun and, you know, all the solar flares. The thing that really caught my attention when they said Pluto wasn't actually a planet because it was considered to be too small to be a planet.
If our atmosphere wasn't there, we would have gamma rays and like all sorts of really harmful rays like coming down on us. That's why the holes of the ozone layer are such a big deal.
Temperatures are so hot at the center of the stars, they split up atoms and turn them into new elements.
We can really understand the sun, the moon, what our galaxy is. It's pretty exciting when the students' eyes just kind of light up and they go, wow, this is it. This is really the way the universe works.
Welcome back to Peralta Matters. I'm your host, Jay Calhoun. We are now joined by Helena Lengel, Chief Steward of the Peralta chapter of the SEIU 1021. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me here. I'm really delighted to be here.
Before we get too deep into what it is you actually do and how you do it, let's discuss or define what SEIU stands for and also give me a little bit about the 1021 story.
Okay, SEIU stands for Service Employees International Union, and originally the Peralta chapter was known as 790, and a couple years ago the large union decided that they want to combine a lot of the chapters, and so the reason we have 1021 is because they brought 10 chapters together into one union. And so therefore we came up with a 1021, and it's kind of a little catchy thing and people enjoy it.
Right. We see, or we have seen at the Peralta Colleges, the presence of SEIU 1021 on many occasions, be it board certification, board meetings, daily rallies for certain campaigns and certain initiatives at our colleges. Is that something that's pretty much a mandate for the organization, or is it a national thing?
Well, we're really involved in what we're doing here at Peralta. That's most of our chapter's concern, and we get involved with the national and more local, bigger local things regularly. But our focus here is our chapter's really at Peralta and what happens here at Peralta. Right. That's most of our energy, and that's why you do see us at board meetings, and you do see us when things come up and we want to make a difference. Our main thing we're trying to do is just really protect the rights that our employees really have the right to, and make sure that we can really have a really positive working environment here.
That was my next question. That's a good one. Give me a bit or a brief description of your role as Chief Steward.
Oh, okay. My role as Chief Steward is to sort of hold the hands of all the site stewards. At the sites, we have individual members who are site stewards who represent the members at each site. And then as a Chief Steward, I'm the one that gives them direction. I monitor what it is that they're doing, and I take care of the issues when it gets to the point where it has to go beyond just the site. If it has to go to the district or we have to deal with management on something, then I step in and take a handle on that and move it to the next level.
Right.
And I would be the one that would be filing grievances or working with the district on grievances and moving grievances and dealing with the actual union representatives from the union hall in getting those grievances managed and handled.
Outstanding. Now you're also an instructor at COA.
I'm not an instructor.
Okay.
I'm a lab technician. I am the biology lab technician at College of Alameda.
Okay.
And I love what I do. I have been doing it for 13 years. I absolutely enjoy being in the academic part of the house. I just I love being that close to the students. I mean, that's our whole mission as a college, is to be supporting what the students need to do with their education, and I just really feel that that's the most important thing we could be doing here.
Does that position benefit you in any way as Chief Steward or anywhere in the union?
Yeah, I get a private office. I didn't know when I was first hired how valuable private office was.
Outstanding.
It sounds silly, but you know, those little things make a big difference.
In terms of how SEIU and the district coexist or work together, what ways have you seen, especially recently, and given the budget cuts, the enormous amount of things?
It's been hard for our unit because we've been taking hits with layoffs and furloughs. And I understand that all the units have to take hits, and it just feels like it's tough times. And really, even during this tough time, the magic is to be able to find ways of working with the district, even though, you know, how much are we going to fight over a pie where it's just crumbs? And so it's a matter of walking that fine line between really preserving what we have or holding on to what we have or making the best out of a bad situation. And it's a matter of working somewhat collaboratively as much as you can, because you're going to get more positive results if you're working collaboratively. And if that falls apart and doesn't work, then you go to the grievance process. Right. So that's sort of my tendency to act. Scratch that. That's sort of my modus operandi, is to do everything I can before something goes to a grievance, because honestly, grievances take forever. They're very combative, and emotionally they're very difficult, and for me it's like it's much better to be working something before it ever gets to that point.
Within the unionizing of employees, there's a stigma, so to speak, of how in which we deal with district or even each other or even other organizations. Can you give me a little bit of what the SEIU approach is to, one, dealing with your members, some 55,000 or so to speak?
Well, thankfully, I don't have to deal with 55,000. No.
But within our organization?
Within our organization, we have about 300 permanent and about 150 part-timers. And so as chief steward, I represent all of those. We include both part-timers and permanents in our bargaining unit. We have different contracts, but we represent both of those.
Gotcha.
So I think part of it is that there's always a spectrum in humanity, right? And so we all have that spectrum from this side to that side. And honestly, it's our responsibility to represent that entire spectrum. Make sure that that entire spectrum is treated with respect and given the best that they possibly can have in their working environment, whether it's safety or health rights or protection on the job or whatever it is, then that's what we're trying to do for those members. And as far as stigma, I think there are times when classified employees aren't given the level of respect that someone might have. If you're looking at an instructor, they carry a certain amount of respect that is not quite the same as classified, the way they're treated. And so I tend to always work like we're all equals around here, and we're all, being fed from the same
cow, so to speak.
The same income stream comes from the state, and what the classified are doing supports everything that the instructors are doing. But if it weren't for the instructors, the classified wouldn't be here. So it's really a dovetail. We're all in this together.
Is there a lot of intermingling with the different unions, the PFT?
We do work together on issues, and particularly right now, dealing with the healthcare. We're all concerned about our healthcare benefits, and so we have been having discussions off and on about what the different packages are, what we're interested in. Typically, a lot of times we don't have a reason to cross paths, but there are very specific times when it's essential that we must cross paths, because if you don't, we're not going to make a difference in the long run.
Is there a next level for you with SEIU after Chief Steward?
I don't know. I actually was asked to be president, and I really didn't want to take on president at the time. I like doing chief steward because I feel like I'm doing more nitty-gritty work. I have more contact with members day to day, every day. People are calling me with their problems, and I really have. I'm right down on the floor working things, and I'm not way up at the top doing things that just by phone or something. And not to say that that's not what our president does. Our president is excellent, and she's got the strengths that she has. And Abigail Brewer is a fabulous president. I really am very pleased that we have her working with us the way we do. So I don't have any expectations of knocking her off the top and taking over. I got plenty on my plate, and I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now.
Great. Well, you're doing a good job of it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on the show again.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll be back in a few minutes with Peralta Matters.
We're in the wood shop here at Laney College. This is wood technology. Vocational is our focus, career technical education.
You can go through the whole process from milling your wood, gluing it up, getting it machined.
You'll learn about the machines, the terminology, and most importantly, how to work safely.
We have a time saver, belt sander, the joiner, the planer.
There's a lot of students that already know carpentry, they're already doing construction work, but they've never learned safety.
In the last few years, we have developed our technology. We are lucky to have a full CAD lab here. We have a computerized panel saw, and we also have a CNC machine, a point-to-point machine.
One of the latest machines available in woodworking.
Several of the students in this class are architects. They enjoy designing, and now they can learn to fabricate. You can come here, and it kind of gives you a leg up on the competition. I enjoy the medium myself. I like making things out of wood, so that's sort of what brings everyone in here.
I want to thank today's guests, Matthew Goldstein, President of the PFT, and Helena Lengel, Chief Steward of local SEIU 1021. Until the next time, please do something that matters.
Peralta TV, programs that matter.